Industry experts say a shortage in mustard seeds is driving up prices, and it could leave some grocery shelves with low supply before the new harvest reaches markets this fall. France, the world's biggest consumer of mustard, is already facing shortages. Other countries are seeing prices climb as the stock of last year's mustard seeds are depleted. The problem is being caused by a drop in the number of acres of mustard seed planted last year on the Canadian prairies. This is where the majority of the world's mustard seeds are grown. That and a severe summer drought means crop yields are far lower than usual. All right, joining us now to talk more about this is Dr. Stuart Smyth, Associate Professor at the University of Saskatchewan and Agri-Food expert. Sir, welcome to Forum Daily.
Thank you, Nima.
So let's start with how this shortage is likely to impact Canadian consumers in grocery stores.
Yeah, so as you highlighted in the introduction, the drop in production last year has reduced the availability of some of the mustard products. So I guess it depends on your level of consumption. If you're like me and you maybe buy 1 or 2 bottles a year, you probably won't notice a great deal of difference. But if you're going through a bottle a month or every couple of months, you'll likely have noticed that there's fewer options or fewer availability, which may last into the fall, into winter even.
Now, considering that Canada is a major supplier of mustard seeds, in fact, we mentioned the majority of the world's mustard seeds are grown in the prairies, how is the shortage impacting the industry, supply chains, and profits?
So because the yield was down so much last year, the mustard manufacturers have a little bit less supply than they would have previously. So that's driven up prices, which has pushed up acres. Farmers planted about 40% more mustard than they would, say, over the past 10 years. So if the weather holds sort of till the end of August, first part of September, we should begin to see that some of those prices start to ease as harvest begins and supplies begin to increase.
And as you mentioned, farmers, can you tell us a little bit more about how farmers are being impacted by this shortage?
Yeah, not so much that they're going to be impacted as a consumer, but the rise in prices has certainly allowed them to have another crop option that has significant higher prices. The price of some varieties of mustard seed is over 3 times higher than it was at this time last year. So farmers typically plant based on price and crop rotations, and mustard obviously has been an attractive alternative for a lot of farmers this summer.
And is there any way that maybe the mustard sector can expand in Canada?
Yeah, I think it could, Nima, that with some of the advances within biotech and the potential to increase traits like drought resistance and yield can certainly contribute to the opportunity for farmers to increase their number of acres that they have normally produced, as I said, sort of in that 400,000 acre range. And it would be great to see it move up to double.
It would be great to see that, definitely. Now, what are you watching ahead of the fall harvest? I know there's a lot of hopes for this fall harvest coming up.
Yeah, the main thing is that the weather patterns we've had over the last month or so with some fairly frequent rains, and if we get another couple of weeks of that, and then we get some nice warm weather through September, October, we should get really good harvest conditions. And when I looked about 10 days ago, the provincial Ministry of Agriculture was listing about 85 to 90% of the mustard acres in Saskatchewan as fair and above. So that would sort of align with at least being on average with the last 10 years. So fingers crossed we get that kind of weather, and we should have normal, if not above normal, yields going into the winter Christmas season kind of thing.
All right, and as you mentioned weather, so I want to stay on that point. So we mentioned severe drought also had an impact on the mustard seed production. What other threats does climate change or severe weather pose to the food sector in particular?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the variability in weather patterns certainly can have an influence through the droughts we experienced last year. High winds can certainly flatten crops and greatly contribute to reduced yields. The other thing that happens with changing weather patterns is insect and plant disease expand. So we would expect to see an increase of plant diseases that might commonly be in the United States, or insects that are commonly in the United States, and their range of survivability would begin to move further north into Canada, which would increase the cost for farmers having to control for both of those factors.
All right, Dr. Smyth, thank you for an informative interview.
My pleasure. Have a great afternoon.